Title of my sermon this morning is Hide the Baby. I'm not referring to one of these two. The one up there. Taken from Matthew's Gospel, the verse that reads, "And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road." The birth of Jesus has engendered curiosity from the first. The Gospels have two narratives, two accounts of the births, one in Luke and one in Matthew. But there are other accounts. The Quran even has an account of Jesus' birth. But I want to focus on the apocryphal or non-canonical text called the Proto-Evangelium of James. It seems to have been a very popular book, likely written in the 2nd century, sometime after 150. It was also translated into the Syrian, Ethiopian, Georgian, Coptic, Slavic, Arabic, Armenian, Latin, and Greek languages. The Proto-Evangelium of James follows the early life of Mary, starting with her parents, then her early life, her betrothal to Joseph, the Annunciation by the Archangel Gabriel, Joseph's discovery of her pregnancy, and the birth of Jesus. What is most interesting for us this morning is the birth account and what Mary does after the visitation of the wise men. In the Proto-Evangelium, Mary did not give birth in the manger. She instead delivered Jesus in a cave. They then stayed in the Bethlehem area for a time, and just before they returned to Judea, the wise men arrived. They offered gifts, as it is written in Matthew. And just like the account from Matthew, the wise men were warned not to return to Herod. Now here's the interesting part. In the Evangelium, Herod orders all the babies under 2 to be killed. Mary heard what Herod was going to do and hid the baby. The text reads, "When Mary heard that the babies were to be killed, she was afraid and took the child and wrapped him in swaddling clothes and laid him in an ox manger." Sound familiar, right? In Luke's birth account, the baby Jesus is wrapped in swaddling clothes and laid in a manger. The difference between Matthew and the Proto-Evangelium is the motive. Having given birth in a cave, presumably the Holy Family found a room afterward. We also can assume that some time passes before Mary and the baby were ready to travel north, maybe more than a year. But Jesus was laid in a manger not because there was no room at the inn. That poor maligned innkeeper. Rather, Mary hid the baby Jesus from the men sent by Herod to kill him. She placed Jesus in the manger to protect him. In the Proto-Evangelium, the manger is not lowly, but safety. In the Bible, another woman hid her baby when danger was near. Do you remember who? Moses' mother hid him in a basket of reeds, then sent him down the Nile. The linkage is not coincidental. Moses became the leader who freed the Israelites from the bondage of slavery in Egypt. Jesus becomes the Savior of humanity who frees us all from the bondage of sin and death. Both Moses and Jesus are men of hope. Another way of looking at the events is that even the Son of God was at risk. His fate was not secure. The selfish powers of the world were threatened by Jesus. Herod wanted Jesus' death because he threatened Herod's power. For us, the wise men's visit to Mary is not about fear and selfishness. The wise men's visit tells us that while Jesus is Jewish, born of a Jewish mother and father of proper lineage, Christ is not meant for one people. Jesus is not meant to be king of the Israelites. He is instead sovereign of the world. The wise men visits opens the door to monotheism and allows all of us to join our Jewish brothers and sisters as the children of Jehovah, the children of God. For us, the wise men's visit also shows us how God works in the world. God is involved by working with humans and through the natural world. God uses a star to lead the wise men. God works with the wise men to show all humans that Jesus came into the world to save all humanity. God also empowers people. He relied on the wise men, Mary and Joseph, to protect Jesus. It wasn't magic. God didn't cast a spell. God didn't create an illusion to protect Jesus. He worked with the people around Jesus and trusted them to do the right thing, to protect Jesus when he was most vulnerable. God works with us the same way. It is not magic. God doesn't cast spells. He doesn't create illusions. God uses the wonders of creation to reach us, and God relies on us to make the world a better place. That means that we all have a responsibility. As Christians, we are to work with God to make the world a better place. If we come here and see the manger and think only of ourselves, we have missed the point. If we have come here and see the manger and want to keep it in our heart, we miss the point. When we come here and see the manger and go back home or to work or school, we must bring the message of the manger to others. God's message is one of hope. We are not alone. God's message is one of strength. We can overcome any wrong or evil because God strengthens us. God's message is one of love. We are to love everyone, even those who make us uncomfortable. The actions of the wise men and Mary must inspire us to worship God and to protect the vulnerable. We worship God, a God who understands that the world is a dangerous place. God gets that people can be selfish and fearful. God knows that people will be destructive and hurt others and even kill them. Even so, God was willing to send his Son into a dangerous world because he knows that there are people who will do the right thing. He knows that there are people who are willing to do what God asks. There are people who will fight for the weak. That is our message. As Christians and Episcopalians, our call is to seek and serve others, loving our neighbor as ourselves. That work doesn't end. We find that work in school and in the assisted living facilities. It is good work. It is our work. It is the work by which we honor Mary, Joseph, and the wise men.